The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest!
And hello everyone and welcome to Scarefest Radio. The original broadcast date is March 16th, 2018. Scarefest Radio is scheduled independently of the Scarefest, Celebrity, Horror Fandom, and Halloween Expo. Our guests do not necessarily reflect appearances at the event held September 14th through 16th, 2018 in Lexington, Kentucky. For more information, visit thescarefest.com. Scarefest Radio is sponsored by Spirit Mechanics. Spirit Mechanics for your spiritual health and well-being. Find them on Facebook, MECHANIX. Also by Coyote Chris Sutton, bringing light to the darkest places, CoyoteChris.com. Quick reminder, I will be in Alton, Illinois' Mineral Springs Hotel March 24th with the lovely and talented Elizabeth Saint and Coyote Chris Sutton and the boys from Ghostcrier. For more information on that, go to CoyoteChrisNow.com. Quick reminders, there will be no live show March 23rd. We are off next week because I will be in Alton, Illinois. March 30th, we look forward to welcoming the Scarefest fearless leader, Brandon Griffith, with our new feature, Horror News for the Hour. Our guest tonight is David Oman, and he is the owner of the infamous Oman House in Beverly Hills, California. Everybody, welcome to Scarefest Radio. Hey, David. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you there?
Just fine. I want to give everybody a little background notice. We threw tonight together. We've already had video glitches. But David and I are here. I lost my co-host because of connection problems. But a little background. I've had David on Paranormal Filler, my old show, a couple of times. Always a good guest, and I want to give a special thanks to him because we needed a guest quick, and David came through for me. He little like myself, David. I think you're just a little bit of an attention getter, but
Oh, really?
I looked at your resume, on Coast to Coast AM. My God, man, you've done everything but like the morning show in Lexington, Kentucky. It's incredible all the shows you've been on. You've been on every paranormal show, I guess, coming and going, pretty much.
Well, there've been a bunch that I haven't been on, and the reason is they don't want me. They don't want to come here because, as they've said to me, we go to places to solve people's problems. You don't have a problem with a ghost, so we can't go there to solve a problem that doesn't exist.
Well, yeah. So
still you can come here and investigate. It's like, no, it doesn't give us a reason. You're fine with it. It's like, yeah, I'm fine with it. Nothing bothers me at all here. It's like, then we can't help you. It's like, but I don't need help. It's like, then we can't come to your house.
Well, okay, yeah, there's a couple of those shows out there, but most, actually, just now off the top of my head, of course, now I don't keep up with TV anymore, but most of the current shows are just investigative shows. So anyway,
well, for instance, here's another show. There's a show that did want to come out here that approached me a year ago, and that was Amy Hallen's show. Was it The Dead Files? Well, I said to them, it's like, look, I don't want to do another show or somebody else's show about my house. I said, I've been on 6 shows already, from Ghost Hunters to Paranormal Witness to Haunted History to My Ghost Story to Ghost Adventures to Aftershocks. And everybody's done their version or story about my show, or their angle, as I like to say. And none of them, including especially the worst of all offender of that, was Ghost Adventures. I now live on ceremonial Native American burial grounds. What?
Well, I can tell you, I did enough. We did enough research last time I had you on. You've got enough weird things about your house without having it on burial ground. So don't. We'll skip.
But I mean, but the fact that he makes that claim, which is so sensationalistic, is totally untrue and invalid. And that's the thing, is people said, "How come you built your house on Native American ceremonial burial ground? Didn't you see poltergeist?"
Well, from the pictures I've seen, technically your house is built into the side of a hill. So anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on. Now, everybody, let's get a little background here. David's house was built basically down the street from where the infamous murders, the Sharon Tate murders, the Manson family murders happened in 1969. 4 people were killed in a house, basically just down at the end of the street from where he lives.
150 feet away.
So not even a good city block away.
No, less than, by all means.
Yeah. Well, one thing, even though we're doing video, David, I do want to remind you, we have our affiliates are radio. So we don't want to spend too much time on pictures without a lot of talking. But yeah, he's showing a picture of the house now. And people, if that's an Indian burial ground.
This is the end of the street. And again, the true story was they were supposed to commit the murders at the end of the drive and then kill everybody at the house next door and the house next 2 houses down.
Basically, the murders happened. Your house is built right down the street out of a very, very unique architecture. I don't think there's any getting around that.
Yeah, my father designed it himself, and it doesn't look like any of the other houses in the neighborhood or area at all.
So the house is in not only a unique place, it's a very unique house, and it seems to be a gathering point for the paranormal activity in the neighborhood. Now, I do want to ask, okay, we know 4 people were killed that night in 1969.
5.
I had Sharon, the Frykowski, Abigail Folgers, and Jay Sebring. Who else was there?
Stephen Parent, the 18-year-old high school student who just graduated. He was the first person killed as he was driving out of the property. As a matter of fact, and again, I'm showing a photograph. That's his car, and that was him. He was leaving the property.
Stephen Parent was the 18-year-old high school student who just graduated and was visiting the caretaker at the home, William Garrettson, who lived in the back house. Now, as he was driving out, Tex Watson came up and stopped him, flagged him down. Tex put the .22 caliber buntline long-barreled revolver into the car and shot him. And Stephen saying, "I won't say anything, I promise, please let me live." And bang, 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 bang. He was shot 5 times, close point-blank range in the chest, and died at the scene right there.
Okay, so my Google search was wrong. There were 5 people that were killed that night. Now, the activity in your home, to the best of your knowledge, is it all a trip? Because I've seen the videos, I've seen some of the clips. I mean, the place. I am not going to dispute you live in a haunted house. Okay, I do want to know: is the general consensus, yours and everyone that comes through, that the bulk of the activity is attributed to those 5 spirits?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Most of the activity that I've seen here and witnessed that I've witnessed here has been directly attributed to the individuals that have come into the house. And what I've theorized is that even had the murders not taken place down the street, this house would still be vastly haunted. And I don't say it's really haunted as much as it is a portal. Mm-hmm. And it also, I base this upon the fact that we have extremely elevated DC EMF levels that are constant. And with Barry Taff, who everybody's familiar with, I'm sure now more so than ever, with the Demon House movie of Zach Baggins, is the fact that the house sits on a geomagnetic anomaly. And the way that the house is constructed, unlike a lot of the other houses, is there's a lot of steel in this structure. We have 4 steel I-beams, like those found in skyscrapers, that are supporting the second and third level. They're literally structurally running from left to right to the center, and then another one's going from the center to the other side. And they're supported by 3 steel columns that are basically embedded into the concrete gray beam, which is concrete reinforced with rebar, which is steel, that are then connected to columns, which are 3-foot diameter piles that go into the ground that are reinforced concrete with steel, about 30 feet deep. And so what Barry Taff had said is that the house is basically amplifying the energies that are occurring in the earth and going up through the steel rebar and making a giant Ferris cage, basically, where you've got all of this steel that is the cage on the second and third floor that is amplifying all of this magnetic field. And we had a 10-inch crescent wrench, regular old monkey wrench, sitting, well, it was a crescent wrench, sitting on top of the bar in the third level. The third level bar is not is not electrified in any way, shape, or form. It just sits on top of an old cabinet, an antique cabinet, and it's set into the wood. So there's no metal really there. And then it's about a 2-inch thick piece of butcher block that makes up the entire bar. It was sitting there for about 3 months when we first noticed that there was something strange that was occurring with the compass. When we took it down there and put it near the monkey wrench, it would start to spin around. And as we put it close to the monkey wrench, one end would give us a northbound reading, and the other end of the monkey wrench gave us a south pole reading. We took a geomagnetometer near it. It registered 5,000 milligauss positive at one end and 5,000 milligauss negative at the other. The crescent wrench basically became magnified just by sitting in that environment for 3 months. It's impossible, okay? So now, what Barry said is that you have a gigantic bipole that's naturally occurring. And with all this energy here, he says, in my experiences, in my years of doing paranormal investigating, he said that when a spirit would manifest, your milligauss reading is at about between 300 and 500 milligauss positive. A spirit would manifest and the readings would jump up to 2,000 milligauss. After the occurrence, the milligauss readings would return down to about 300 to 500 milligauss positive. In this house, they're always up here, he said. So theoretically, he said that when people come in the house, the spirits that are around each and every one of them basically can manifest in this environment without having much effort on their behalf to have to manifest and draw it against the environment, instead of themselves having to say, I'm going to focus and make this object move. Here, it's like, want something to move? All right, la-di-da-di-da. Oh, that's really easy. So people's activities and experiences are directly connected to those who are around them, I theorized, versus anybody who's
Everybody, you're
here.
listening to Scarefest Radio. Do you feel lost in life? Do you seem to be stuck in emotions that are not yours? Is your home not the sanctuary it should be? Contact Spirit Mechanics, where they take a team approach to your metaphysical and spiritual problems. Spirit Mechanics specializes in aura cleansing, stone attunement, attachment removal, and house cleansings. Spirit Mechanics tailors their approach to your individual spiritual path and needs. Find them every month at Lexington, Kentucky's Mystical Fair, mysticalfairlex.com, or on Facebook by searching Spirit Mechanics, that's MECHANIX. Spirit Mechanics, for your spiritual health and well-being. Are you considered an authority in your field? Do you have a knowledge of your passion that you want to share? The Scarefest is now taking speaker and seminar applications. Everyone knows that the Scarefest is America's premier horror and paranormal convention. What you may not know is that in addition to their celebrities and world-famous vendor exposition, they also schedule a wide range of seminars and panels all 3 days of the event. They are always looking for speakers that go beyond the typical how to ghost hunt and push the limits of the imagination. Ufology, cryptozoology, serial killers, movie magic, spirituality and beyond, tales of the bizarre and investigations of the unknown. To be a part of an event that you will always remember, request your application now. Email speakers@thescarefest.com. And everybody, welcome back to Scarefest Radio. To David Oman, owner of the infamous Oman House, which is, of course, just down the street from where the Manson murders actually took place. It's a hotbed of paranormal activity. That I have absolutely no doubt. And if you want to see some of the video clips for yourself, look up David Oman's YouTube channel. I've got some links pulled up here. You've got theomanhouse.com. Of course, that's got a lot of the recent videos, and it's also got how to get in touch with him to schedule your own party or ghost hunt or whatever you want to do. Wanted to get those plugs in there.
Yeah, the YouTube channel is better, though. The YouTube.com/David Oman, and that's OMAN. And so please subscribe to that if you're interested in seeing some really interesting videos of the paranormal activity.
Now, one question I had, of course, so now if you explain to us how basically you live in the
Mount Everest of planet.
Well, I was going to say the apartment building from Ghostbusters. That's what it sounds like.
I have Jewel in my godson fridge.
It's a lightning rod, if you will. It creates an environment apparently that thins the veil, as we would say in the metaphysical realm. Now, you say very little of the activity you associate with the murder victims from that night. But now, based on some... Now, this, you might correct me here. The TV shows that I've watched try to tie a lot of the activity they record to that night. Is that a representation you're comfortable with, or is that such a small amount of the activity that you don't even really think about it?
Well, here's my point. You know, if you didn't know somebody and you didn't have a connection to somebody and you're their biggest fan, why is it that they're going to come out of the dimensional planes of existence and cross those to come visit you? There's a million other people that were big fans of that individual who died. And I say to people, you know, the likelihood that somebody that's dead is going to come across the interdimensional planes to say hi to you because you're their biggest fan, you got to be delusional or freaking egocentric.
Well, now I've actually given that speech. Every time somebody keels over, there's 1,000 ghost boxes out there.
Oh God! Oh God! Don't even. All right.
But
I had that discussion today about Stephen Hawking's died, and somebody said they reached out to him. I said, "What was it? Was the sound of a voice box?"
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. I will make a public statement right now. I am not buying any transdimensional communication with Mr. Hawking at this point. The reason I bring that up now, first of all, okay, I do believe that a lot of times.
Let me just say something clearly. That's not to say that I myself have not had experiences with those who have passed that are connected to the Tate murders. Yes, I've been fortunate enough, I'd have to say, 14 years ago, yeah, 14 years ago, see the actual apparition of one of those victims from the murders down the end of the drive in my house. Yes, I did. And it's famous, it's an infamous story because it's on Ghost Hunters from 12 years ago, and I said I saw a gentleman who was pointing his finger towards down the street. As it turns out, he was not pointing down the street. He was pointing at the lot next door. That was 7 years before they started building that property. And there's a house there, and it's just old right now. And there's a guy moving in there, and I'm like going, oh, I can't wait to hear the stories when he starts knocking on my door at 3 in the morning. David, I just had this. I'm telling you it's going to happen, undoubtedly. I have a funny feeling because during the construction of that house, in front of the house on the street, the laborers came to me and said, hey, we were having lunch, and we were on the, sitting against the hillside, and we had one of our 3-gallon thermoses, sitting on the street. And, the slope of the driveway is about, just a few degrees. That's enough of the slope. If you took a marble, it would go down the slope. He says, well, the thermos tilted up. Tommy, I'm on the radio. And he says, it went up the driveway and spilled, and no one was around it, in front of 15 laborers.
Now,
okay.
Well, the reason I framed it that way. Now, I did want to find out that you don't have reoccurring contact with them, but now I will say I do believe that a lot of times, especially when you're talking murder victims, they do tend to, for whatever reason, be drawn to the place of their demise out of regret or whatever.
That house was torn down in 1992, some 26 years ago.
Yeah, but David, you live in a really cool house. I'm just saying, if they showed up down there.
I can argue with that there, Wes. What I'm saying is a lot of people go, well, there's but it's not, see, but it's not just those victims. I mean, across the canyon, if you want me to show you guys, I could. Here, hold on a second. I'm going to do something really simple and quick. I'll stay in vocal contact, but I'm going to end up drawing my line stack so the video people, when I show the shot, can appreciate what it is we're talking about. Because Rudolph Valentino's house was literally across the canyon from my house right there. And I'll give you guys a shot of it. Here, for those of you that are visually watching this. You see that across that canyon over there? You guys see that?
Yes.
That house over there, that's what's left of Rudolph Valentino's house. You can see that white house on top where that crane is?
Oh, yes.
That's it. I'm showing the people across the canyon. That's what's left of it. The house actually sat further out, but those are the servants' quarters and the guest quarters that are still there. But my point is that, he's been seen here. We have had other people that, seen different spirits here at the house.
That's my point. That's my point, David. I'm just saying, anybody that shows up in that neighborhood who is of the deceased nature might be drawn to your house because of the unique properties that it has.
But it might not be the neighborhood. We have people, from all over the place. As Lisa Williams, who said it famously when she was here after the Ghost Hunters show, she walked in, she goes, do you know your house there's a big party in your bar? And I said, yeah. And she goes, and there are all these different spirits here. We have Native American spirits. She goes, there's people just that on the other side of the plane of existence, she said, your house is like a light in the darkness. So it might be spirits from all across the planes of the universe that see this other, sort of traveling around through the hereafter and see this little light. They go, oh, what's that? He goes, oh, there's an oasis. Let's go there. She goes, you have lots of spirits that visit here, not just the neighborhoods. We know it on a physical. See, you're now blending physical with interdimensional. On an interdimensional plane, this house is not a house as we see it. It's a light in the darkness amongst all the other stuff. So it's like a place, as she said, and Marianne Winkowski said, that's kind of like a ghost hostel or a flop house. And Marianne Winkowski, for those who don't know, is the real-life ghost whisperer, who the TV show The Ghost Whisperer was based upon.
See, now, I don't have a hard time wrapping my head around that because I believe a lot of the paranormal hot spots that you hear about on television, some of the more famously haunted places. I believe that's what attributes to the activity. Unique properties about the property, if you will. So
everybody, you're listening to Scarefest Radio.
Coyote Chris Sutton.
Shamanism.
Spiritual advisement.
Paranormal investigations.
Inspirational presentations.
Bringing light to the darkest places for over 20 years. Go to coyotechris.com to learn more. Everyone knows that the Scarefest has the best fans, and that they love all things creative and unique. The Scarefest is now taking vendor applications. The Scarefest is the largest independently owned celebrity, horror, and Halloween expo in the U.S., and 2018 marks our 11th anniversary. Find out what our long-term vendors and artists already know. The Scarefest is the place to display your unique item. Email vendors@thescarefest.com for more information. Sign up before March 31st and have your link added to thescarefest.com vendor guide. Upgrade to featured vendor status and get ad placement in our program plus social media shoutouts. The Scarefest, the place for your unique merchandise.
And welcome back to Scarefest Radio. Our guest tonight, David Oman, of the infamous Oman House. And we're hearing a lot about the house. Now, so based on our previous conversation, David, I take it that after the wonderfully infamous Charles Manson passed away, you saw no difference in the activity. It was just active as ever. Okay, great. That makes sense.
Same as always, yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I've seen more activity in is every single you know what, you know what, movie, book, story about Manson, about Sharon Tate, not about Manson, but, well, obviously you say Sharon Tate, you're saying Manson, but once he died, the floodgates open up so that as of now, as of today, I know of 3 motion pictures that are in pre-production about Sharon Tate, and I'll ring them off. 1, what's his face? Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. 2, the movie The Haunting of Sharon Tate, starring Hilary Duff. 3, the third was being made by Deborah Tate, and I forgot the name of the actress, not Margaret Robbie, but there's another actress playing Sharon Tate in that movie. And there's a person that's coming out in late June, to come here to help write a book about me and my house. And they'll be here for 2 days doing investigations here. And I'm also going to be writing my own book in the process thereof of writing a book about the house and the hauntings here.
But it almost sounds like you don't even need to tie the two events together. Now, here's a very, very technical inside baseball question, and if you need to name more than one, you can. You have a lot of people come through the house and do investigations. Now, we know some people do...
I have in the past. I don't have anymore. I haven't had in a long time. Actually, I just had a funny thing happen to me, which is I had the Roush Fenway racing team of NASCAR here on Tuesday night. They came out, Dwayne Ryder Zirkle came out with Fox NASCAR and did a little investigation here on Tuesday night, and there was some fun stuff happening, I will tell you.
Well, the question, that statement begs the question, why did NASCAR go ghost hunting?
Well, here's the story. Mr. Ryder Zirkle, who's a driver for Roush Fenway Racing, on his sidelines is a ghost hunter. And he was going to do something in Tucson, and NASCAR was going to go with him. And because something came up and they couldn't go to Tombstone, He said, well, look, we're going out to Fontana. Let me reach out to somebody in LA to see if we could do a ghost hunt someplace there that's interesting. So lo and behold, they end up coming here, and they called me up a week ago. I said, NASCAR, Fox Sports, and NASCAR. I said, hell yeah, come on. I've had the Chilean coal miners that were that were stuck in the underground for 6 months. They actually were here. 13 of them came to visit. I've had Rob and Dan Gronkowski here visit. I've had Lindsay Lohan here visit. I've had Kesha, the singer, visit. We've had some infamous people like V. Stiviana, Donald Sterling's ex-girlfriend, come to visit. What can I say? It runs the gamut, so I'm always interested in meeting new people. I've invited Dennis Rodman to come over, and funny, the son of a bitch will go to goddamn North Korea. He will not come to my house. Sylvester Stallone's brother, Frank, has been invited here. He refuses to come to the house.
Well, most of the people, though, that you've named, I'm sure they came in as, we'll call them paranormal tourists. They wanted the experience. They wanted to experience a haunted location.
Well, not exactly. Kesha did. Lindsay did. Rob and Dan were coming with a friend of mine who's a mutual friend. And so they came over, and then we just had barbecue and stuff was going on and stuff. But, nothing major. But, that's, a lot of people just come here and end up finding out about it. Like, I would never, you tell me this place is haunted, I wouldn't have come here on my own free will. It's after the fact they find out, they're kind of like, it is? It's like, yeah, it is. So, it is what it is.
What I was going for, back when you had groups coming in, whether it's TV or whatever, is there anybody that came through your house that you felt did a very thorough and professional and, if you will, scientific investigation? Who stands out in your mind as far as really went out of their way both to dismiss your claims and to record what was going on?
Honestly, I'd say the Ghost Hunters with with Jason Hawes and that team. They really went out of their way to make sure. And it's like, not that the Ghost Adventures didn't, but with the Ghost Hunters, I know that they were the first ones, and they did it in a time when there weren't any other ghost shows out there. There weren't very many paranormal shows out there of any degree and quality. And when they went in, they were kind of like, yeah, sure, it's fine. I said, oh, what feeble minds humans have when they jest and play with the things they can't understand. And they came out going, yeah, your place is haunted. And they went to the length of turning off the electricity. They went to the main power thing and to the two different the fuse boxes. They killed the power to the house. So when they went through the house for their investigation, there was no power in the house. So that was something that I said, they're serious. It's like, oh, this is going to be good. And having lived here for enough time, I had known that the experiences were verifiably true. So I was like, oh no, I can't wait. I can't wait. So it was when they came back to go, I was like, well, what did you think? I was full of shit. I said, I'm not lying. I said, this stuff. They goes, no, we had stuff that happened. We can't dismiss it because there's no explanation why we heard sound, equipment, and electrical, yet we know for a fact that we killed all the electrical in the house. So whatever it was playing with the mechanical devices in the house, it wasn't natural. And I was like, I told you guys. And they were like, yeah, we've got plenty of evidence. We have to go through it, but yeah. I was like, good. I mean, they were the best. I mean, Ghost Adventures were the ones that were the biggest doubters. You got to remember, when they came, I'd been on my Ghost Story, Paranormal Witness, Haunted History, and Ghost Hunters, and they were the last show that came in to do investigation. And I said to them, I said to the executive producer, I said, you're going to have the highest rated episode because this house is just, to the audience, they love this stuff. They can't get enough of my house. And I'll never forget, he goes, oh yeah, uh-huh. And I said, I'm not saying this to be cocky. I'm saying that every other show we've been on, the producers have called me back and have said, look, your show aired last night and we just got the numbers back and your numbers were the highest ratings we've had to date. And it's like, okay, cool. And now, loaded, I think it's kind of funny, to be honest with you. But they had so many things happen to them that the story was this. They were here for a 6-hour lockdown that started at 9 o'clock. Strike at 9 o'clock, they said to go into the house and all the equipment just shuts down. And I said, what's the matter? And I said, all the equipment failed. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, all the equipment failed. It's like, really? And I laughed. I smirked. I go, uh-huh. I said, and this is what I thought to myself, and so it begins. Because I was just looking forward to seeing them just have a screw job of a time of it with the spirits, because they were here for 4 nights. And the first night they did the interview, they did the B-roll and my interview. The second night they were doing interviews of everybody else. The third night they were doing the B-roll special effects stuff, like the girl walking up the street with the pregnancy, dressed in the nightgown looking like Sharon, and she was covered in blood. Well, that was a Wednesday night, and I'm out here and I'm watching them doing their thing, and they asked me if this was a good idea, and they asked me my thoughts on it, and I said, the story is bullshit. I said, why would Sharon, first of all, manifest as an apparition of her hideous, disgusting self as she died? I said, and second of all, why would she appear to a woman she's never seen before and has no connection to, and be walking all the way at the bottom of the driveway, holding her stomach, clutching this apparition of just disgust? They said to me, well, that's her story. I said,
okay, our last commercial break of the hour coming up right now. Investigate the Mineral Springs Hotel with Elizabeth Saint of Ghost of Shepherdstown. Saturday, March 24th, join us in Alton, Illinois for a one-of-a-kind paranormal investigation of the Mineral Springs Hotel. Elizabeth Saint is teaming up with Cody Chris Sutton, Aaron and Nick of Ghostcrier, and myself to lead you on your tour of this famously haunted location. Will you find the artist that haunts the old hotel bar? Will you experience the Jasmine Lady? Or maybe the tragic tales that surround the old swimming pool will reveal their haunted history to you. It will be a night to remember. March 24th, Alton, Illinois. Investigate Mineral Springs with Elizabeth Saint. Go to coyoteChrisNow.com. Tarot reading. The very idea intimidates many people. Life guidance from beyond? Mystic hokum. Messages straight from the devil himself. Who the hell knows? With a really bad tarot card reading, you don't have to worry about any of that. My really bad tarot card readings are fun yet insightful. Spewing pop psychology, I bullshit my way through it straight from what many might call a warped mind. I have no training. I have no real marketable talent. Hell, I haven't even read the instructions. But they're cheap, they're fun, and as I always say, I might be wrong. Find my really bad tarot card readings at paranormalfiller.com. It surprised me that one of the TV shows was who did the most thorough investigation. I'm very pleased to hear that. Now, I'm going to throw you a curveball here. I'm sure you've just had a ton of people claiming to be psychic mediums walk through your lovely home's door. Based on living there, does anybody come to mind that when they walk through, they got it?
When you say they got it, do you mean a lot of people have been here, like Von Prague was in the earthen wall room and had a lot of people go down there and have a little bit of a difficult time in that earthen wall room part of the house. And it's pretty intense because sometimes they go in and go, I don't like it in here, and they look hightail it right out of there.
What I mean by that is, okay, you live there, and you've got a pretty, as you've explained to us, everything you've said about what goes on there and why it goes on there seems very, very reasonable from a paranormal perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been out on a lot of ghost hunts with a lot of psychics, and next thing you know, they're dialing up somebody's grandmother who just has no connection to anything. I was wondering if anybody's come through the door and, on a psychic level, picked up on the energy and what you've experienced in the home. In other words, you're saying, this isn't Sharon Tate, this is like Bob from the Quickie Mart down there.
Well, a lot of the stuff that happens, you got to remember, the house is, as you said, is like a giant ghost flop house. So you've got lots of different spirits that are here. So, for instance, when we've had some investigations and recorded them, we've had one investigation that's on my YouTube channel where there's this girl, and she's doing a seance. She's sitting there. There are 3 recorders, digital recorders on the table. We have a video camera watching and recording everything, and 2 psychics at one end of each of the table, and at each end of the table. And there's probably about 10 people at the whole table, and I'm one of them. And in the middle of the seance, I said, "Stop the seance." And both psychics say, "What do you mean, stop the seance? What do you?" It's like giving me like, "What the hell are you like?" I said, "Stop the seance." I said, "It's my house. I can say it." I said, "It's not that I'm pulling rank." I said, "I just heard something, and I don't want to." And I'm not the kind of person that likes to do these long, protracted EVP sessions where you just sit there and you ask a question, and then it's one question. Wait, get an answer. Then get 30 seconds for an answer. Then ask another question and go 30 seconds and ask another, to the point where you've got 25 minutes of tape that you have to review, and after the first 3 minutes, you're like, my ears are numb. I can't take any more of this, listening to silence, trying to extrapolate vocal tones that are coming up. So when I have something, when I experience something, and I know I've got a video camera on, and we're doing a session, this came about from when we did, well, let me just finish the story first. I'll reiterate where this all started from. So we stopped, and they said, play the first recorder. They played the first recorder, and this man's voice, as clear as a bell, said, "Let it go, mija." And I was like, play the second recorder. At the same exact spot in the recording, you hear this man's voice say, "Let it go, mija." And it's not a voice that acoustically sounds like anybody in the room. It sounds like there's somebody speaking right up against the microphone like this one. "Let it go, mija." And it has that acoustic signature that's got that breathiness that we've had through all of our EVPs that we've recorded here, be it on a closed-circuit television camera, be it on an electronic voice recorder, digital recorder. Oh, that's just a truck starting its engine. Be it on a video recorder. It's amazing that there's this just certain type of the vocalization characteristic that's always there with all of the EVPs we recorded. And I said, oh my God. And then I said to the guy recording it on video, I said, play your videotape back. And he reviewed it, and it's the same spot. You hear the same voice going, "Let it go, mija." Guys, it's just a truck.
Well, on a little inside baseball
amazing.
there.
And it was like, oh, here's the kicker. The girl then says that that's her father's voice, and that, early in the evening when we started the seance, one of the psychics said, there's somebody whose father's passed away, and they're having a difficult time letting go of him. And this girl at the end of the seance said, that was me, that you mentioned earlier, because my dad died 4 years ago of cancer, and I've not been able to go on with him since he died, with my life since he died. And she says, now that I heard that voice, that was him, I have closure and I can go on with my life. It was amazing.
Now, one thing, you don't do ghost hunts per se there anymore. A matter of fact, I think last time you were on my show was when you had one of the Sunday night show. You had one of the last ones as far as what I would call a public hunt, if you will, a party hunt. Well, I don't know what you would call it. What?
It's a paranormal investigation that's open to the public, and that was in October of last year. I think the 13th.
Okay.
Friday the 13th it was, right.
What What do you envision the future of your home being right now as it relates to the paranormal field?
That's a good question. What do I envision? And you're asking me as far as like what am I planning on doing with the house?
Well, okay. I'll frame the question for you, David.
I'll tell you what I've got is sitting down and finishing the book that basically tells the whole story from beginning of the before I even bought the lot. The first chapter of my book is about the history of the area, going back to when the Native Americans were here, what the tribe's story was, a little bit about them, and about the interaction between the Spaniards and them. And that's just a short few pages about the basic history of the area and about Beverly Hills. And then the rest of it is about when I bought the lot and discussing what happened here and kind of my history of, tied into the Sharon Tate murders, since the history of me and the house when we bought the lot and during construction and some of the paranormal activity that occurred. And then basically chronicles the past 16 years. I know a lot of my friends are going to be upset that you didn't mention my story in the book. Why? There have been over the 16 years that I've lived here and the thousands of friends and people that have... Stop it. You're not the only one in this house, so stop acting like it. Through the years that I've been here, there have been over at least 3,000 stories that have occurred total that I know about. There are other people whose stories have not been relayed to me, and I've heard through the grapevine of what somebody else happened, and they told me of their friend's experience. I said, why didn't your friend tell me that? He goes, they had no way of getting in touch with you. I'm like, well, it was your friend's friend. He goes, yeah, they came to your house as skeptic, and they came out having the most crazy time, and they now believe completely. So, I mean, they're not going to be every single story of all the people that have been here because I don't know them all and they didn't write them all down. But it'll pretty much chronicle my personal experiences and the experiences of others who have been here that are substantial and really, really made an impression upon my mind. So that's what the book's going to be, basically. And if there's a sequel or a second volume, it'll be those people who I missed out on the first book, whose stories want to be told in my second book. So, and that'll be that. And as far as investigations, outside the fact that I'm trying to get a television show about the House and the Hauntings, a special, I think the book's going to have to come out first. Then it'll roll out into being a special with all the chronicling of all the videos and all the footage we shot here and the history of the house. And that's it. As far as other shows, not until I get my own show and special about my house on the air am I really interested in doing anybody else's shows. I've already turned down the people at, Amy Allen's show.
Your house isn't a good fit for her. The whole fun...
They wanted to come here, and I just said, no. I said, I really don't see doing the Dead Files because... you guys are going to be here for like 4 or 5 days, and I just don't see putting it out, letting somebody else do another show about my house and give their side of it. I'm sick and tired of hearing their side of it, my story.
Well,
but no thanks.
Beyond the 4 to 5 days, I mean, I have great respect for Amy Allen and Steve DeShavi, but what they do is they go into a location to dig up the history. And the history of your house is well known, so Steve would have absolutely nothing to do during the episode, and then as far as her, telling her interpretation, I don't think that she would add that much to the conversation. So I don't blame you there.
I invited Amy out here 4 years ago, and we were talking on Twitter and this and that. This is before they approached me, and then she dropped off the face of the earth with me on Twitter, and I never heard from her. She never responded to my messages, my direct messages, and I said, all right, fine. Then about a year ago, January of last year, they reached out to me, and we went back and forth for a couple of months on it. And one of my relatives died, and I was taken, had to go deal with that. They basically, the field producer was like saying, oh, we need to buy it, we need this. And it's like, I just had a relative die 2 days ago. I don't have time to worry about your show and you pressuring me about you doing your show now and this and that. I ain't doing it. No thanks. That just like, it just made me feel so much like, my personal situation was such that I didn't have time to deal with it, and it was kind of like push. No, thank you. I was pushed right away, and I wasn't going to deal with that. And I said, no. That was really what pushed it over the edge. So, as far as I'm concerned, to do somebody else's show and let them make all this story about my house, why? I don't benefit. The Ghost Adventures was one of the worst, had some of the worst angles and statements about my house, with the native ceremonial burial grounds, with the fact that it's bad mojo, and that I'm a poltergeist agent, and that that I'm responsible for the activity in the house. We've been on the air now for about an hour. Not one single time in this conversation have any of the figurines been knocked over. I think that if I had the power, as Zach claims I do, to make something happen here, that I'd right now, make one of the figurines knock over for your guys' sake and benefit. I mean, these are the things that are kind of the drawbacks of doing these shows, is that you don't know what you're going to end up with the personality of the individual who's running the show. And in this case with Zach, he resents the fact that I've lived here 16 years, unharmed, unmolested, without problems, and he managed to stay here 3 hours, which goes back to what we were saying about the show. They started at 10 o'clock. At 11:30, Zach comes walking out the front door over there, and I'll go show you that, right over there. And he ends up walking outside onto on the floor and concrete pavement, and he fell down and splattered on the floor. It's just like one. And I ran up to him and said, Zach, are you okay? And he goes, I don't know. What's going on? Oh my God, I got such a headache. Oh, I feel so drained. Oh, I feel nauseous. Oh my God. Oh, I said, I said, it's because what you did the night before with that photo shoot and that whole video thing of that reenactment. Said the spirits hate your guts and want to crap all over you and spit you out because you disrespected Sharon's memory. And that's what I was saying. The night before when they were doing that, I was shooting pictures. And there's this photograph of this beam of light coming out of this girl's stomach. And there was no lights behind her because it was a light. They were lighting her up from the front, remember? And there was nothing on her but this white nightgown covered in fake blood. So that's what happened. I said, you guys are going to get crapped on the rest of the time they were here. That's why, if you remember the beginning of the episode, I walked to right famously, and that's right here. You see that? That's the stairs going down. I walked right there, and I said, hey, I said, spirits, leave them alone. Be nice to them. I said, don't. What really happened was I went there to the top of the stairs as they asked me to leave the house, and I said, hey, spirits. I said, I don't want you, even though I know you want to kick the living crap out of them, I don't want you to harm anyone in the next 6 hours that they're going to be doing this investigation. Please hold your tongue. I said, don't. And I was much more forceful, and I was really like stern about it, like saying, hey, I know you want to kick their asses, but don't. Please refrain from kicking their asses. I don't want to be going to the hospital because I know you resent the hell out of them and you want to beat the crap out of them. And so the producer comes up to me and I says, what the hell was that? And it's like, I felt I had to call on the spirits to refrain from beating the crap out of you, out of Zach, Aaron, and Nick, and whoever else on the crew. And he goes, why is that? I said, because I feel like you guys are going to go through the meat grinder here. I said, what you guys did last night with that reenactment of that girl with the pregnancy and stuff and the blood, and I said, that was bad. It was in poor taste. I said, I didn't believe it was authentic and accurate, and I thought that it was totally unnecessary and totally for the drama. And I said, I feel you guys. And he says, well, stop right there. He says, would you go back and do that? And I said, what? He goes, I want you to go back in the house and do the reenact what you just did. He goes, but I don't want you to be so, I don't want you to curse. He goes, it's got to be PG rated, PG-13. So you got to watch what you're saying. It's like, for camera. He goes, yeah, for the camera. because I want that on camera. That was great. I was like, okay. So I did that. And so later on, it ended up going into Zach's book, I Am Haunted, where he says that, I'm literally, it's like 5 feet away from me. I feel like grabbing the book right now, reading you the excerpt so I get the quote right. But in essence, he says that David treats the spirits like an adult scolding a child, a misbehaving child, something to that effect. And I was so resentful towards that comment, thinking, I resent that. I did what I did originally because I was trying to protect your sorry asses. Having now read this in your book some 2 years later, had I known now, if I would have known now what I knew then, I would have not gone to the top of the stairs and said 2 bits, A, for camera, B, not for camera, and said, hey, spirits, have your way with them. Send them to the hospital in an ambulance, please. I didn't have to go out and try to elicit some type of, grace upon their asses, but I did. Now that I know the way that he turned it around in his book, I feel like saying, something? Should have kicked their asses all over Texas and back and forth 3 times over. As it was, apparently the spirits knew this because after they ran out of here at 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 hours after they were in here for, and they ran out. They literally came out the front door, and I said, it's 1 in the morning. What are you guys doing? You're supposed to go for 6 hours till 4 a.m. And they said, oh, no, we're done. We got plenty of evidence. Like, yeah, we got plenty of evidence. Yeah, we got enough. We're done. Thank you very much. I'm like, I wonder what happened. So the following day, I think it was Saturday or Friday after Saturday, a day and a half later, I said, hey, how you guys doing? And they said, guys aren't very good. I said, what's the matter? He goes, they're all sick. I said, he goes, Nick, Aaron, and Zach are sick. I said, really? He goes, yeah. And I called the following day, and I said, how are they doing on Sunday? He goes, no, they're still sick in bed, laid up. They're all just plumb sick after your house. For 3 days, they were bedridden, sick. That's how the spirits basically got back at them and basically took it out on them because they didn't like the way they were treated.
Well, David, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. We're out of time on Scarefest Radio. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. Incidentally, there was no winner of this week's 3-Day Pass.